Pardon? Ah, sorry, I thought someone was joking there. The cameraman has started. Right. Okay. Yeah, welcome back to Celluloid History. Life is a Mystery. The leading UK politics and current affairs channel with me, your host, Dan Rowlands. Yes, I hope everyone's had a good weekend. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the football. The world's largest footballing juggernaut is playing tonight against Everton. So it's sort of hotly anticipated contest. Calm down. So looking forward to that a bit later on. Just run through some usual welcomes. I did have this plan actually that I was thinking maybe I could make the welcomes so massively long that wouldn't have to think of much else to talk about, but we'll see how the show goes. The UK's greatest ad hoc political and current affairs show in these febrile UK political times. 2 or 3 days to go till the budget. I think it's Wednesday, isn't it, the budget? So anyway, let's do some welcomes here. Happy Monday to everyone. That's a crash cymbal there. This is more of a hi-hat. For percussionists among us. Welcome to fans of the Kildares, Wreckfish Pond Open Up, and not forgetting Emergency Exit. Titans of the alternative rock scene since 1987 at various junctures using within the chronological system that the planet utilises. Welcome to Celluloid History, Life is a Mystery, the channel that is in direct competition with BBC News at 10, ITV News at 10, Panorama, Unspun World with John Simpson, Question Time with Fiona Bruce, Daily Politics on the BBC with Kirsty Young, Al Jazeera News. I think I already said Unspun World with John Simpson. Newscast. And not forgetting, of course, UK TV Gold and Comedy Central. Yes, we are the UK politics and current affairs channel that takes your brain to another dimension. So please do pay close attention. The UK politics and current affairs channel that, like a 90s 12-inch dance remix single, takes you higher. Yes, and we're also back here on the Celluloid History Life as a Mystery channel. We're back by popular demand. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. There's my mic stand. And, yes, and of course... the channel that likes to say, here we are now, entertain us. And, I thought I'd throw in well, it's not that difficult, but I thought I'd throw in a sort of slightly obscure one in terms of alternative rock lyric references. So in that spirit... who sabotaged me notes here? That's the wrong notes. Here's me notes. Tell you what. The staff are getting quite excitable about, the firings at the BBC of the Director General and the Head of News, but There's no need to sabotage anybody's notes, is there, at the end of the day? Yes, yes, the channel that thought that if you had an acoustic guitar that it meant that you were a protest singer. There you go. There's one for the alternative rock fans among you. Strike the right note there. Anyway, what am I going to talk about today in true ad hoc spirit? The Cellular History channel's got no idea whatsoever, but that's what makes the channel exciting, of course. We're approaching the 7-minute mark, and all we've had so far is trivia. That's what we like to hear. Now, I mean, over the yeah, getting a bit excitable. I mean, big match on tonight. Will the toffees get chewed? You know, that sort of thing. See what I did there? Yeah, I over the weekend I watched Sunday with Laura Kuenssberg. On Sunday, the clue is in the title, and I've also watched, well, very briefly watched Daily Politics Today with Kirsty Young, and of course, anticipation is kind of you know, reaching fever pitch prior to the most what can we say, the most anticipated and talked about and hinted at and generally kind of waffled about budget in the history of budgets in the UK, I would venture to suggest. That's finally happening on Wednesday. Sorry if I'm repeating myself there. Yeah, I mean, it's just quite bizarre, really, isn't it? The amount of times that actual you know, top government representatives have sort of been sort of waffling about the budget. Not least the Chancellor herself, Rachel Reeves. She called a press conference at 8 AM in the morning. Was that about 2 weeks ago, something like that, and basically said nothing very specific whatsoever about what was going to be in the budget. I think the general consensus among the media was that it was a case of in this. I mean, in this, I think really in this, well, the way that the Celluloid History Life as a Mystery channel sees it, in this kind of 24/7 febrile media environment, I think Rachel Reeves took the decision to sort of get on screen, make a video to kind of, break the public in gently regarding the budget, basically. I mean, I think essentially it was boiled down to a case of somebody basically saying, please don't be too hard on me if you don't like the budget, basically. I think that was the purpose of that 8 AM bulletin. And not only, I mean, there was that 8 AM bulletin, and then there was also what's been described as a U-turn. They love that. The media loves nothing more than spotting what they consider to be a U-turn, does it not? But after much speculation that income tax was going to definitely rise, the government then, I can't remember whether that was directly Rachel Reeves or some official government source anyway, sort of backtracked on the income support predictions, and basically said income tax is not going to rise, didn't they? And to be honest with you, as far as I can see, forgive me if I've missed something here regarding the budget, but from where I'm sitting, it seems that we're none the wiser, regarding what the real life actual budget on Wednesday is going to actually, be, consist of, so that's that. But I mean, one observation I made today, watching the daily politics today, was that there's quite a sort of rather tedious consensus in mainstream media politics, really along the lines of, Tories and Labour arguing about growth and spending and tax, isn't there? There's no. I just think I noticed that because it was. There's a guy called Luke Charters representing the government on Daily Politics Today, and a lady called Sarah Bull representing the Conservatives. Quite young MPs actually. And I just noticed that the sort of rather tedious grey consensus we got around growth and tax and spending strategies. I suppose British politics has been like that since the Blair era, hasn't it? Where I think the idea is that the Labour Party kind of, some might say, caved into big business. Would be one way that I'm sure George Monbiot, the left-wing writer, would describe it as that, caved into big business, and became sort of like watered down Tories with more of a sort of authoritarian, what's the word? With more authoritarian sort of interference in the economy, rather than just sort of leaving the free market to itself. The idea being that authoritarian interference in the economy, of course, is benign and is designed to sort of, look after the poor and vulnerable, etc., etc. But going back to the thing about, the sort of general waffle regarding spending rates, tax rates, and growth rates, economic growth rates, it's tedious compared to exciting subjects of politics like revolution and Marxism and fascism and things like that. That's what's exciting in politics, isn't it? Revolutions. Well over the 10-minute mark. Enjoy your evening meal, everybody, on this happy Monday. Bit of a deft hi-hat and crash cymbal combination there for the percussion fans among the viewers. Yes, and of course, moving on, when Starmer became Prime Minister, quite a big part of me thought, oh good, this guy looks like the sort of Prime Minister that the UK really needs, a kind of sort of grey, efficient administrator, you might say, because the fact is that day-to-day politics, of course, is sort of unglamorous kind of paper shuffling, and there's a certain amount of public speaking skills involved in politics as well, of course, isn't there? And in these days, of course, media savvy, you might call it, mightn't you? Media savvy, Thank you. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. People are getting quite excited, special effects team and sound effects team and all that, Anyway, yeah, media savvy is needed, isn't it? In modern UK politics, So, where was I going with that? I think I was just making the point that, I thought Starmer was going to be the ideal, an ideal sort of UK Prime Minister, but sadly, I think I made the point the other day that, unfortunately, the critique that, Labour may be in power, but they haven't really got a clue what they're doing, appears to carry some credence, shall we say. However, I'm as I've made the point before, for me, still a bit of a best of a bad lot for me, and as somebody who's I've studied the history of the Labour Party, I was going to say quite a bit, a fair amount, but mind you, I'm going back to the mids of time, though, I must admit, to the mid-90s. But anyway, I've just spotted my notes, and there were one or two points I was going to make on this, on the UK's top ad hoc political and current affairs channel. And how long we got left? We've got slightly over halfway now, aren't we? Best wishes to everyone at the beginning of the week, of course. Here we are. So notes all over the place here. Right. Yeah. I hope this subject doesn't end up becoming too sort of heavy, but yeah, I don't really like to share the Celluloid History Life as a Mystery production team has decided, from board level downwards, we don't really want to shirk any. We want to be a channel that boldly goes where other current affairs and politics channels fear to tread. And in that spirit, yeah, there's we want to discuss some ideas around capitalism, socialism, and the sort of era of identity politics that we're told we're in by the Tory Steve Baker. That's the way he's described it. Communitarian nationalists versus cosmopolitan globalists, as he put it. And of course, in recent years, there's been a large increase in the phenomenon of diversity, hasn't there? Ideas of diversity have become a big feature of politics. That's part of identity politics. The concept of diversity has really, become an important thing in politics, especially since the millennium. I would say. 2010 onwards, it got even more accelerated, even more maybe. But anyway, I'll get to the little point that I came to. I was watching. I was going to come to. Sorry. Sorry if I'm jumbling my words a little bit this evening. I was watching that show, The Last Leg, on Friday. And I quite enjoy that. I'd quite enjoy that show, actually. Yeah. Damn, I should have noted down all the names of the people on it. Adam, the guy Adam, that is an Australian fella that hosts it. Josh, is it Josh Widdicombe with the sort of mousy hair, and Alex. Is Alex Brooker? The guy with the small hands, that's his disability, sort of underdeveloped hands. That's disability, and I believe that Adam. I was reading about him on Wiki the other day. I can't remember what his surname is now. Anyway, it's the Australian guy, Adam. Is it Adam Little? I think it might be Adam Little. He's got, I believe he's got a prosthetic foot. And I believe he made his way in comedy without anybody knowing that he had a prosthetic foot. And then once he'd become an established professional comedian, he sort of outed himself as being someone who had a false foot. I think it's a false leg below the knee, But anyway, I digress slightly. The comedian Rosie Jones was on the show. She's quite a famous comedian with she's got cerebral palsy. Rosie Jones has got, and she's quite famous, isn't she, these days? She was on the show, and she's got it affects her speech quite badly, doesn't it, Rosie Jones? She's come under. I've seen some rather slightly tasteless opinions on the phenomenon of Rosie Jones as a professional comedian. Why am I bringing Rosie Jones up? You may well ask. Well, Rosie Jones, featured fairly on did quite a lot of chatting on the show, and she's got quite a big speech defect. She's quite difficult to understand what she's saying sometimes. At times, she speaks. Put it this way, her speech impediment is very noticeable, isn't it? And anyway, the point is this: she made a quip about. I mean, I suppose I would say, I'm not I don't find her particularly hilarious, because I find I'm sure she's a lovely woman, but I find it's like, what do they call that thing in media and literature? The willing suspension of disbelief, isn't it, in the arts? So I think there's a slight case of willing suspension of disbelief involved, that somebody is hilariously funny if they've got a really prevalent speech impediment like Rosie Jones has. However, I think the other analogy I was going to make was, could anybody seriously claim that, say, for example, Rowan Atkinson in the early to mid 80s, if you compare Rowan Atkinson's work on television and Rosie Jones's work on television, and recently, you compare Rowan Atkinson's early 80s work on television and Rosie Jones's work on television in recent years, personally, I would say Rowan Atkinson's a lot funnier than Rosie Jones. Now, where am I going with this point? And as I say, absolutely no disrespect to Rosie Jones whatsoever. I'm sure she's a lovely woman. I'm if you get to know her. However, she, at one point, she made a joke about how the comedy industry, how rich the comedy industry had made her. And Alex Brooker, the Londoner with the underdeveloped hands. I think he's called Alex Brooker, isn't he? Anyway, he sort of cheered when Rosie Jones said this, and so it's almost like they had a bit of sort of solidarity, like two disabled comedians together celebrating the fact they've well remunerated by presumably BBC. I think Rosie Jones works for at times, doesn't she? And Channel 4, obviously, that's the show that Last Legs on. That's the channel that The Last Legs on. And so it's almost like, we're rich. We're rich because basically Rosie Jones said that she said she's sort of grateful to cerebral palsy, God bless you, because it has made her rich. Basically, that was a sort of quip. Now, it got me thinking about, as is my want, political theory, political concepts, socialism, capitalism, etc., etc. Now, it got me thinking that, in a sense, I believe in live and let live, and I'm not one of these tasteless commentators that's going to just trash the idea of disabled comedians in a sort of crass way. In a sort of, I think you get a certain type of sort of right-wing comedian doing the rounds at the moment, don't they? You think they're cool. There's a sort of, you think they're cool because they're trashing so-called wokeism, whatever wokeism is, Some people just argue that wokeism just means intelligence, don't they? And sort of fair-mindedness, But anyway, the point I'm going to come to is this. I think that the idea of diversity and equality, it works better, to my mind, in conjunction with ideas of equality in economics, because the idea of what Rosie Jones's quip sort of illustrated to me was the fact that the era of diversity and identity politics we're in, identity politics, is it? That's a load of politics, isn't it? There's no such thing as politics, is there? Anyway, the idea, the era of politics that we're in, it's got nothing to do with left wing economic ideas, has it? It's just like diversity is just like, it's all it is really, is to put it to give it another description, is it's just a sort of the finding of new markets for capitalism, isn't it? To my mind. In other words, if you've got, I suppose, if you've got a situation where Rosie Jones, who's arguably, let's say, the leading, most famous disabled comedian, making jokes about being the richest, I'm the richest disabled comedian in the UK or whatever, all that does is create another tier, another sort of competitive system, doesn't it? Capitalist system, whereby other disabled comedians with cerebral palsy who are amateur and poor, sort of the inference is that Rosie Jones is on top of the heap, isn't she? Like the favourite son of the Celluloid History Channel, Elon Musk, the globe's richest man. How many times have we been told that Elon Musk is the globe's richest man? We're not worthy. Rosie Jones becomes the Elon Musk of comedians with cerebral palsy, doesn't she? And going by that, if we're going to go down that road of boasting about how rich one is, if you get my meaning. So, I suppose what I'm getting at is that equality is a decent thing, but it's, that's not the same thing as economic equality at all, is it? To just sort of create more diverse markets. I suppose I could name an obvious one, an obvious market that's emerged over the last 10-20 years is the LGBTQ plus market, isn't it? There's a lot of marketing around, say, the idea of Pride Week and things like that. And I'm not knocking. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking the LGBTQ. I get confused with the number of letters in it these days. LGBTQ plus community. And I'm not knocking the fact that some bright sparks have seen fit to sort of give them their own market. There's, however, the fact remains that it is just it has been pinpointed as a sort of niche market. They call it the pink pound, don't they? The gay and the LGBTQ plus market, And I'm just making points about economics, really, not necessarily. As I said before, my bottom line on culturally is live and let live, sort of lifestyle and identity politics. And the bottom line I live by is live and let live, But so just to round up my point, there's a certain type of right wing Christian to introduce another demographic into this little debate. I'm aware I've just gone past 30-minute mark, so we'll wrap it up. Who sort of, I've heard some Christian right wingers quite cynically sort of accuse the left of sort of, they'll be targeting the Muslim vote, that sort of thing, and who was that lady, Sarah Poachin, slightly ties in with that point, that sort of controversy the other week, doesn't it? The accusation that there's too many ethnic minorities represented on TV advertising. given the fact the ratios you find on TV advertising don't bear any relation to the real ratios of basically there's the majority of people in the UK are white, and there's a relatively small percentage of Asian and black people, and yet the TV adverts just show a disproportionate amount of black and Asian people on the shows. So you could argue that some bright spark has seen, that's been an economic decision, we want to... Well, but who would they be targeting there? They'd be targeting obviously that particular those particular races, Asian people and black people, and they'd be targeting. It's been a thing, hasn't it, lately? Excuse me, sniffing and snorting there. Still getting over the cold slightly. There's been a thing lately where as I say, diversity and I don't really like the term woke. It's pretty meaningless, isn't it? But a fairness of thought, if you like, a fair culture and a diverse culture has become the mainstream, hasn't it? And this is why and that's no bad thing, of course. Anyone in their right mind would say. In fact, one thing that struck me just before, when I was thinking, who would that sort of advertising be aimed at? Advertising which includes quite a fair amount of Asian people and a fair amount of black people, even though we're in a predominantly white country. You could say it's aimed at black people, Asian people, and people who aren't racist, which hopefully should be most people, But interfering in analytical train spotters like me, when it comes to politics, will nevertheless, trot out statistics such as, the UK population is something like 80% white, but 80% of people on TV advertising currently are probably not white. There's more of a sort of 50-50 between whites and Asians and blacks. And as I say, it ties in with the trend at the moment is that sort of liberal left has become the sort of mainstream, if you like, and that's why we've got all this. There's a febrile cultural atmosphere going on at the moment, where you've got Reform being accused of being racist, of targeting white workers. You've got Starmer, who's actually probably been advised by Morgan McSweeney to actually sort of out himself as far as the word racism is concerned. You've got Starmer sort of. It's a bit strong saying outing himself, isn't it? I don't know whether. Anyways, maybe I've got the concept of outing on the brain after discussing LGBTQ plus as a demographic targeted by capitalists. But yes, basically Starmer decided to accuse Reform of being racist, didn't he? Which I would have thought was probably something that got discussed twixt himself and Morgan McSweeney and the Labour, the advisors at Labour HQ. That I would guess that would have been a strategy. Shall we go down the road of accusing Reform of being racist, or shan't we? In fact, Rees-Mogg. Don't get me wrong. The only reason I follow Rees-Mogg a bit is just for educational purposes. I'm not about to start voting Tory in the near future. At any rate, no, I'm not. I've never voted Tory in my life, as I said before. But yeah, I mean, what's that thing? You've got to know your enemy, haven't you? They say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. They say, don't they? So yeah, I follow Rees-Mogg a bit because he's I was going to say upper class twit. Then that's a bit harsh, isn't it? But some people will probably say it's not harsh enough. But yeah, Rees-Mogg's a sort of old Etonian kind of, almost like a cartoon posh bloke, isn't he? Like a mate of mine said the other day, he's almost like Lord Snooty out of the Beano, isn't he? So he's worth. I find he's quite a good weather gauge regarding the right wing of politics, because he's also got some sympathy for the Reform Party, and there are real life people like Jacob Rees-Mogg in the UK, of course. Now I'm going to wrap it up. I hope everyone is very well, and I'm aware that it has been a bit of a sort of torrent of political stream of consciousness today, and I hope that's okay. I hope that I've enjoyed making the bulletin. I hope everyone's enjoyed listening to it. Make sure you all look after yourselves, everybody. The bulletin will be back at some point. Not positive where it's going to be tomorrow, but as I say, we'll keep it ad hoc, and we'll keep it. I was going to say keep it febrile. Then that's just the general mood of the UK political scene, isn't it? Febrile. Enjoy your politics, enjoy your internet shenanigans, enjoy your online goings on, your cyberspace, enjoy your cyberspace goings on as well, of course. And the more observant among you will probably realise that some of those concepts, there's a crossover there. I was going to start talking about Venn diagrams then, but I think I better wrap this up. So thanks for everybody watching the show. Keep on rocking in the free world. Rest in peace, Manny. Good luck to the good luck to the world's mightiest footballing juggernaut tonight, and we'll catch you on the next. We'll catch you on the next Celluloid History Bulletin. Yeah, it's been a bit of a waffly one, but long live social democracy. That's what I say. With the emphasis on really sort of benign interventionary governmental techniques. Benign interventionary governmental techniques. Yeah. That might be the name of my new single, actually. But anyway, God bless everybody, and remember, as Mr. Farage has taught us, always finish your bulletins, your political points, by slowing down the pace of the words that you're saying, because it gives them more emphasis. God bless. Good night, everyone.
Don't give me no back talk, sucker. Don't give me no back talk, sucker.